So I'll be your presenter today. My name is Owen Lynn. I'm one of the educators here with Advanta IRA. I'm in business development here. I've been working with self-directed IRAs for over 6 years now. My contact information is here, and it's also at the end of the presentation. So if any questions come up around self-directed IRA investing, or if there's something that caught your eye, certainly feel free to reach out. You can always shoot me an email or give me a call, but I'm happy to answer any questions that may arise during the presentation or afterwards. Just a quick disclaimer, Advanta IRA and its employees do not provide investment advice or endorse any products. So all information and materials are for educational purposes only. All parties are encouraged to consult with their attorneys, accountants, and financial advisors before entering into any type of an investment. So always good to do your research before you make the investment. So to start off here, what is a self-directed IRA anyway? Just a brief primer. So self-directed IRA is a unique investment account that allows alternative investments. So instead of only being able to invest into stocks and ETFs with a regular financial provider, we allow investments into private companies, real estate, precious metals, and a wide array of other investment types here. So these investments can build tax-free or tax-deferred wealth at a faster pace compared to traditional investments. So again, any questions on any investment types, or you have questions about today's presentation from Ananda, certainly feel free to reach out to us. Our Learning Center is also available online at advantaira.com. So we have weekly webinars and monthly virtual networking events, much like the webinar here today. This is all available on our website. We also have a weekly podcast called the Alternative Investing Advantage podcast. So this features a new guest every week that talks about investment trends, strategies, and different tips for building retirement wealth. You can also visit our weekly blog. So we have weekly articles with current information about self-directed IRAs, alternative assets, and IRS updates that are all available on our website. And just a little bit about Advanta IRA. So with over 20 years of experience, Advanta IRA is the nation's premier self-directed IRA custodian and trust company. Our team is comprised of attorneys, MBAs, CFPs, and certified IRA service professionals, for short CISP certifications. We take security seriously here, so all uninvested cash in your IRA is held exclusively in FDIC-insured institutions up to the applicable limits. And with clients across the nation, Advanta IRA facilitates over $4 billion in assets under administration. We work with a network of trusted CPAs and attorneys nationwide. Our professional resources are also available on our website if you want to look for particular CPAs or attorneys. And then every Advanta IRA client has a dedicated account manager who provides concierge-style service. So we also offer comprehensive educational tools for all types of investors. Again, you can find those resources right on the website. The different plans that we offer here, so we offer all plan types. So for individuals, that would be your traditional IRA, Roth IRA, inherited IRA. We offer various savings accounts, so health savings account, HSA, and then ESA, so Coverdell Education Savings Accounts, and then all plan types for businesses as well. So your solo 401k plan, SEP IRA, and simple IRA. So takeaway points are any IRA or former employer plan qualifies. You choose the investment, so you're in the driver's seat here at Advanta IRA. We're here to provide education and to walk you through any investment that you might be looking into. And then once you place an investment, all income is deposited back into the IRA from the investment that you made. So with that, just a little bit of background on Advanta IRA. I'm going to turn it over to Chris Moore, SVP at Advanta, or Ananda, and he's going to give you a walkthrough on what they've been working on.
Thank you, Owen, and good afternoon, everyone. It's really a pleasure to be with you today. Before I start, just a quick little background on myself. I'm a New Zealander by birth, but have been in the US for over 50 years. I spent my first career with Merck in sales, marketing, and managing their international operations. And after I retired from Merck, I joined Ananda, where I've been for a little over 8 years, and have been one of the executive team that's been working to build Ananda into a clinical stage biotech company focused on neuropsychiatric conditions. Next. Just as I start my presentation, I just do want to put up our standard disclaimer. Obviously, a lot of the information I'm going to be sharing with you today are based on projections. And while we work to make sure that we will achieve all those projections, obviously, the pharmaceutical industry is a risky business. Next. Company highlights. Ananda Scientific is a biotech company that's well positioned to address the large unmet medical need for PTSD therapies with our Nanthia product. We have best-in-class clinical efficacy and safety data for PTSD. It's a huge unmet medical need with over 13 million PTSD patients in the US, and there's been no new drug approvals for over 20 years. Our product is based on a cannabinoid cannabidiol, which we combine with a delivery technology, and with that we get a multifactorial mechanism of action, which is well suited to treat the heterogeneous disease like PTSD. Our product is patented in over 30 plus countries, which is very, very important for a pharmaceutical product. We have robust manufacturing and support teams in place, and we are a platform opportunity as well with extended neuropsychiatric indications that we are working on. Currently, we're looking to raise $50 million to fund the pivotal trials for PTSD. We're raising this capital in 2 tranches, a $10 million initial raise on a convertible note, and that will take us through to the next pivotal meeting with the FDA, and then we'll raise another $40 million to fund the pivotal final trial for PTSD. We expect to have that next meeting with the FDA in the 3rd quarter and initiate our pivotal trial soon thereafter. And we are focused on getting our pivotal trials completed by the middle of 2028, filing an NDA with the FDA so that we can launch our product in the middle of 2029. Next. As I indicated to you, we have a pipeline of neuropsychiatric and neurodegenerative indications that we are working on with our Nanthia product. Our lead indication is PTSD, and as you can see from this slide, we are moving towards the end of our phase 2 trials. We also have a program underway in social anxiety disorder. This is a proof of concept program, and we have just had the last patient enter this trial, and we should have the trial complete before the end of the year. Coming behind social anxiety disorder, we're also working on opioid use disorder, smoking cessation, and in an earlier stage, childhood epilepsy, and further back, Alzheimer's. So we do have a range of indications that we are researching, and we do know that cannabidiol has very, very good preclinical support that it will have activity in all these neuropsychiatric conditions. Next. Our lead indication is PTSD, and that is a very, very important indication for us. The PTSD market is $16 billion worldwide. In the US, there are 13 million PTSD patients alone. And while the prevalence in combat veterans and first responders is 12 to 20%, and obviously a very important PTSD population, this is also a problem in the broader population. 8 to 10% of women and 4 to 6% of men in the general population suffer from PTSD. So it's a much broader issue than just combat veterans, although obviously combat veterans is a very important population. Our product, we have strong efficacy data compared with other FDA approved drugs. We have a true drug-driven response. So the more product we can get into the bloodstream, the better response we get. And we have consistent improvement across all the, what we call the CAPS-5, which is the instrument that's used to monitor the severity of PTSD in patients. And I'll explain a little bit in the next slide about how there are various clusters of PTSD, and we do have activity against all those clusters. And we're very, very well tolerated. It's a safe product. Next. PTSD is a fairly very complex problem, and it manifests itself in symptoms that are in 4 main clusters. Obviously, intrusion, flashbacks, mood changes, avoidance, and hyperarousal, and a lot of it related around fear. And so to be effective as a PTS therapy, you need to be able to have activity in all those symptom clusters. And what we're seeing from our clinical trials is that Nanthia CBD is having an impact in all those symptom clusters. However, the most important issue with cannabidiol CBD is how do you get it into the bloodstream with sufficient, in a sufficient amount that it is going to have clinical efficacy. Next slide, please. And that's where our delivery technology comes into play. We worked for a number of years with a preeminent chemist, Dr. Nissim Ghati at the Hebrew University of Jerusalem, and he has designed a delivery technology specifically for the cannabidiol molecule to improve its absorption in the body. And this is a fairly complex delivery technology where we use a combination of excipients to make nanodomains, very small spheres, if you like, to which the cannabidiol is attached and protected. When that gets into the body, it inverts when it hits the stomach fluids, and the cannabidiol moves to the outside of these delivery structures, these nanodomains, and becomes very much more absorbent, and it really drives the absorption of the CBD into the body. You might ask, how do we know that it's better than other products? So in the next slide, yes, I just want to show you the results of a study we did with Nanthia versus Epidiolex. And you'll see on the left there the results for Nanthia. And the things that we see is that we get a dose related uptake of the CBD. So the more the CBD we give to the patient, the more gets uptake. We get a very consistent uptake across all the patients. The most important thing that we see is that the uptake of the CBD is not impacted by the food that's in your stomach. When we look at Epidiolex, you can see there it's a much more variable uptake in our study. But the most important thing with Epidiolex, and it's well documented in their package circular, is they have up to a 5 times impact from the food that's in the stomach. So depending on what you've been eating impacts the uptake of the cannabidiol into the bloodstream. So we believe to be a really effective drug product, you need to have consistent uptake, you need to have, no food effect, and we need a product that's also very stable in its finished form before it gets ingested by the patient. And they are all things that we see from our product. Next, we have a very strong, accomplished leadership team that is driving the development of this product. Our CEO, Sohail Zaidi, has a long history of running corporations and worked for the British company ICI for many years. John Suh, our executive director of the board, led LegalZoom, a large tech company in California, from startup to exit. And just a couple of other people on our team that I'll highlight here. Jim Streisand, who's our medical director, was in charge of clinical trial operations for Genzyme. Bonnie Goldman worked in Merck when I was there, and she ran global regulatory affairs for Merck and then for J&J. So a very, very experienced pharmaceutical team that's helping us drive the development of this product. Likewise, when we're running the studies, we have very strong relationships with the academic researchers that are doing the clinical trials for us at NYU Langone Hospital, UCLA, Yale, and the University of Nebraska. So we've got a very strong and well-focused team working on development. Next. Moving forward from where we are today, we have a very well laid out regulatory and commercial roadmap to go from where we are today to where we can launch Nanthia for PTSD. We've just completed the first PTSD trial at NYU, and we should have the final readout of data from that trial by the end of the year. We have a second PTSD trial at the University of Nebraska. We already have an interim readout from that trial. So we by early in the new year, we'll have data on over 140 PTSD patients. The next step is that just to back a little bit. The next step is for us to have a pivotal meeting with the FDA, which we hope to have Q1, maybe now Q2 in 2026, where we will get their direction and input into our pivotal trials. And then we'll initiate our pivotal registration trial for PTSD, which we expect will take probably 18 months. It'll involve 350 patients over 20 sites in the US and 5 sites in Europe. We expect to get that trial finished and have the readouts in early 2028. And file for a new drug approval by the second half of 2028 and be able to launch our product for PTSD in 2029. Next. To support our program, we have a very robust supply chain infrastructure. We have our drug substance comes from FDA approved facilities. We have a manufacturing supply chain which has been able to manufacture multiple batches of product for our clinical trials and have the ability to manufacture at full commercial scale. We've spent a lot of time developing test methods so that we can fully validate the quality of our product, and actually have had some very good interactions with the FDA, who have been very helpful in helping us move those test methods to fully validated and FDA compliant standards. We've already manufactured the product that we will need for the next stage of our clinical trials, and so we are actually in a very good shape from a supply chain perspective. Next. So to summarize the market opportunity for Nanthia, obviously we have a 3 or 4 phased opportunity. The first is PTSD, where I mentioned before it's a $16 billion market, and we're raising $50 million to bring that product to commercialization. Coming behind PTSD is social anxiety disorder, which is another huge $11 billion market. And if our trials that we expect to be positive are positive, we'll raise another $50 million to bring that product to market. Behind that, we have opioid use disorder, and then childhood epilepsy, Alzheimer's disease, and smoking cessation. So we have a portfolio of products, but our plan is to take a step-by-step approach, focus first on bringing PTSD product to market, and then follow on with the other indications as we get more and more clinical data. Next. You might ask, what is the potential revenues from a PTSD market in the US? We worked with an outside company who specializes in reviewing biotech products and looking at valuing what the asset is worth and what the sales potential is. And when they look at the PTSD market, they look at where we could fit into that market. They have estimated that by 2037 we could be $1 billion in revenue and growing from there. Using those revenue projections, they believe today we have a risk-adjusted net present value of $933 million. So that is a good valuation for our company. And when you sort of look at comparable companies that have developed products in the neuro space, you can see that a number of companies, when they've come to market, have had a $2 billion valuation and sold for multiple billions to big pharma, where we obviously aspire to be a product that's very similar to one of those products. We've still got some distance to go, but we believe we do have a very valuable asset just in PTSD alone. And obviously, if the other indications are successful, we'll be able to move forward from there as well. Next. A very important part of developing a pharmaceutical product is to make sure you've got good IP protection around your product. And we do have composition of matter patents for our formulation that are in 30+ countries, and they're issued in nearly all those countries already. So we have a very good patent portfolio. Those initial patents expire in 2037, and we have extension opportunities to move that up to 2044. We've also filed patents around each of the indications that we are working on. So as a second line of protection, we have patents filed on each indication using our product. And we're also working on trademarks to make sure we've got our trademarks protected globally as well. Next. So I mentioned before that we're raising $50 million, and I wanted to just cover a little bit about what we will be spending that $50 million on. So the first $10 million that we're raising on a convertible note will be used to complete all the phase 2 trials that are currently underway, and to make sure we get all the statistical analysis done in an expedited manner. We also need to run a biocomparison study for our commercial formulation. Over the last 3 years, we've done a lot of work to enhance the soft gel capsule that our product is embedded in. And we've also developed a higher load formulation, which we think will be a better commercial product. So before we move into our pivotal late stage trials, we want to just prove that those new enhancements we've made, the product is comparable with what we've done our initial clinical trials on. And the FDA has, asked us to run this biocomparison study so that we can move forward with the most commercially acceptable product as we move to the next stage of our trials. The $40 million, which is the second step of our capital raise, will be used to run the pivotal study that we need for registration. We've already selected the CRO to run this trial for us, who will be Syneos, and that trial will cost approximately $25 million. 350 patient study in 20 to 25 centers in the US, and as I said, five centers in Europe, so that we can get international registration for our trials. Next. As a company, we have a consistent history of progression and value creation, and you can see we've been around for a number of years. To date, we've raised about $35 million, which has been invested in the development of our product. We've also had the benefit of over $17 million worth of NIH and other grant funding that went to our investigators, which has helped advance our clinical program. We are audited to public company standards since 2017, which is very important as we look at our exit strategies. You can see how we've raised the capital over the various years, and we're really now at a very key inflection point in our value creation, where we've done a lot of investment in getting to where we are, and now we're starting to get the human clinical data, which will really start to drive the value creation in our company. Next. So how are we thinking about an exit strategy from where we are today? And when we think about what could be the next steps for the company, we view there are three probable exit strategies that we have. As I said, we are fully audited for 8 or 9 years, so we are very ready for an IPO. And we are talking to a number of larger investment banks about the potential of doing an IPO in the latter half of 2026. Obviously, that is dependent very much on the market, but we feel we are largely ready to do an IPO when the market conditions are right. The second exit strategy we could have, obviously, is a strategic acquisition by another pharmaceutical company, which is a very traditional route for biotech companies to exit. We think we're well positioned also for an acquisition by a company, a pharmaceutical company that focuses in the central nervous system area. And you can see here a number of acquisitions have happened over the last few years of products of companies in our space, and at very high exit prices. The third strategy that we're also, in the back of our mind is that we could take our company all the way to commercialization ourselves. And we're also already starting to work on building out what we would need to do that. And we're starting to work with some European companies, especially in France, and some other partnerships in Italy and Spain, to make sure that we have some collaborations in place that could take us all the way to the final step. So next, again, I just want to re-emphasize that a lot of forward-looking statements here. This is we're very, very enthusiastic about where we're heading, and we think that we've got a very good program in place. So just to finish, next, I'd like to again emphasize that we are looking to raise $50 million to take our program forward. The first $10 million of that raise is what we're really focusing on in the shorter term. It's being done through a convertible note. That convertible note will convert into Ananda shares at a 20% discount to what we raise the money in the $40 million raise, the follow-on raise. Why are we doing this? We know that the $40 million raise will likely be subscribed by the larger institutional players, and we're already in a lot of discussions with them. So we feel we'll leave the valuation of the company to the institutional investors and raise the money on the convertible note at this stage with a discount to give the earlier investments a very good opportunity to get into our company. We would really like to talk to anybody on this webinar who would be interested in investing in the company, joining us on this journey to bring much needed therapies for PTSD and other neuropsychiatric conditions to the market. And our aspiration is to create something that's very meaningful and lasting and really can help a lot of patients that suffer from these very debilitating conditions. Very pleasure to do this presentation and be very happy to answer any questions that may come up. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris, for all the great background. And I do see some questions popping into the box here, so we'll cover that here in Q&A. But if you would like some more information, again, information's on the screen here. So that is phone number for Chris directly and his email. We also have a page for them on our site online as well. You can scan that QR code. And yeah, this is available as well if you'd like this to be directly sent to you. We're more than happy to send the presentation over. You can also reach out to me with any questions, or if you'd like to connect with Chris later, you can always give me a call or shoot me an email with any questions as well. So that information is there. And then for some Q&A, we do have some that are popping into the box here for you, Chris. So I'll just read those off. Question number one this is from R. What will share dilution look like with subsequent raises?
Obviously, there will be share dilution with subsequent raises. Our belief is that we will be able to increase the share price as we move forward through our clinical development program. Obviously, at each stage, the risk profile for the company changes and becomes less. Yes, there will be share dilution, but the overall valuation of the company will continue to increase.
Okay, thank you. And then next question is, any chance that you can mention institutional investors, the names of some companies that are looking at investing into your company?
They're all the usual big venture capital companies. Obviously, I can share that in under confidentiality, but most of them have us under confidentiality as well, because they, that's the way the business is done. However, I can say to you that we have very good relationships with the larger investment banks, and we have regular discussions with banks such as Jefferies, JP Morgan, Leerink. They're the larger banks that would probably come along if we went public, but we maintain good relationships with them.
Okay, thank you. And what is the valuation for the current raise, and then safe or post money?
Okay, so the current, at the last raise we did, which was in 2021, the valuation of the company was $130 million. The valuation for the current raise has not yet been determined. As I showed you in the presentation, the valuation that was done by our valuation company would suggest that we have a valuation of $933 million based on where we are today. So we would expect the valuation to be somewhere between the 130 that we did the last raise at and the 933. I think to expect it would be at the top end is probably optimistic, but we expect it will be somewhere in the middle. Again, we are not valuing the company for the initial $10 million raise, which has been done on a convertible note, because we believe that valuation will be determined by the institutional investors that come in the $40 million raise. But we're giving the people that come in with the convertible note today will be able to convert into Ananda shares at a 20% discount to what the institutional investors finally determine the price to be.
Thank you for that. And then we have another question posted from William. With PTSD a major issue with the military, how likely is the government to subsidize or partake in this investment? So first of all, absolutely, it is a priority for the military. And I would also say, as an aside, it is a priority for the FDA. We were at an investment conference in New York in the middle of the year, and the new FDA commissioner was talking to the meeting and was asked the question, as FDA commissioner, what is your top priority? And he mentioned that bringing a new treatment to market for PTSD was his #1 priority. So we know it is a huge priority for both the military and the FDA. We've had discussions with the government and with parts of the military. It's a little more complex to get them into our research program, but we believe they're very supportive, and as we move forward, they will be big customers of ours. Thank you for that. If anybody else has any other questions that come to mind, feel free to post them in the chat. We are at the end of the questions listed, so we will wait here for a couple of moments just to see if anybody has any lingering questions. We will also send out the presentation. I do see a couple of requests for that. If you would like a copy of that presentation, please feel free to drop it in the chat, and I will send you a copy of it directly to your email. So please include your email as well.
And if I could just jump in here, Owen, if
Sure.
anybody is interested in knowing more information about our program and even knowing more information about our confidential clinical data, with a confidentiality agreement in place, we're more than happy to sit down and have a discussion with you about the data we have and where our clinical program is heading. So please feel free to reach out to me either by phone or email if you're interested, and I'm more than happy to sit and discuss more information with you.
And I'll save all of those as well. We do have another question that's posting into the chat. This is again from R. Any major competitors? How do you overlap / compete with Ajna? I believe I'm pronouncing that right. It's AJNA. I think they are doing CBD stuff as well.
Yeah, there's obviously a number of companies out there that are researching CBD in various conditions. We believe we have a very, very comparable, if not a better product, because of the delivery technology that we've got combined with the cannabidiol. So we think we're equally competitive with anything else that's in the market. There has been a number of other products with different mechanisms of action that have been pursuing a PTSD indication. Unfortunately, none of them have been able to get through the FDA approval process to date. Most of them have been focusing on one symptom cluster of PTSD as opposed to the multiple symptom clusters, and so we're not able to be successful. There is likely to be other products out there, but at the moment I think we're very well positioned to be the head of the pack.
Wonderful, thank you for that. And thanks for everybody that requested the presentation. I'll be sure to send that out shortly after the webinar. And we have no other questions. Thank you again, Chris, for jumping on with us. And again, this recording will be available as well. So that will be online posted. So if anybody wants to watch the replay, it'll be there. And yeah, appreciate everybody jumping on with us today. If there's no other questions, I think we can go ahead and close it down.
Okay, thank you all.
Thank you, Chris. Thanks for everybody for attending, and we'll send out the information and hope you have a great rest of your day.